oversensitive people should not watch horror movies because horror movies are not supposed to be fun movies, okay? Go watch the fucking Avengers. Go watch the MCU movies. I don't know, go watch a comedy. Horror movies are not for oversensitive people who cannot handle it. Now, let me start by saying that if you are not a snowflake, but you are still oversensitive to horror films, my advice to you, simply do not watch them. Go watch something more enjoyable. Go watch something more fun. Horror movies are not supposed to be fun movies. The point of horror films are supposed to scare the shit out of you and make you uncomfortable and fill you with tension and fear. They're supposed to make your heart race. And violence in horror films is obviously a requirement for some horror films. Now, look, I'll say one thing right now. Not all horror films rely on violence. And if you're someone who is sensitive to violence, maybe go watch one of those. Like, if you're an oversensitive person, but you still want to watch a scary movie, I would recommend something like The Conjuring or Amityville Horror or Insidious, because there are some fantastic horror films out there that do not have any violence. Okay, these horror films instead rely on disturbing and frightening imagery as well as tension buildup. But some horror films rely on violence because those are the things that make those specific horror films good. A good example of this are slasher films. You cannot have a good slasher horror film without violent death scenes, okay? Because this is what makes a slasher film a slasher film. And this is what I mean when I say that some horror films rely on violence to be good, because that is the type of horror movie that it is. Violent slashers obviously need violent death scenes and gruesome death scenes. You oversensitive morons are not supposed to be watching these types of films. Because if you are so oversensitive to the point that you are going to say that they need to be banned or censored, then these are not the movies for you, and you should not even be watching them in the first place, nor should you be wanting them to be censored or downright banned just because you are too fucking soft to handle it. You see, this is the problem with modern society in general. This entire fucking generation is so goddamn sensitive. What happened to people who are able to handle things more maturely? Why are everyone so fucking sensitive to things? Especially movies and video games. Because I'm not even going to talk about how controversial violent video games are. Who else here remembers Manhunt? That extremely violent horror game that Rockstar made back in the 2000s, the GTA days. Who remembers that game? And who remembers how controversial it was because people were so offended over the violence in it? Even then, people were too fucking sensitive. I do not understand you people at all. Like, I don't get you people, nor do I agree with you people, and nor do I fucking care. Like, seriously, you snowflake oversensitive assholes, I could give two shits about any of you. I hope this video triggers you, and I hope it triggers the woke assholes too. But you know, the thing is, woke people are actually better than oversensitive people, because at least woke people are actually fighting for a good cause. I'm not saying I really agree with them. Woke people are fucking trash too, but you oversensitive morons are even worse, because that's the thing. You are narcissistic morons, and I'll explain why they're narcissistic in a minute. They're narcissistic because, first of all, they're extremely entitled. Okay, that's the first reason why they're narcissistic. But back to what I was saying earlier, violent horror films like slashers need violent death scenes, because that is the point of a slasher. When you watch a slasher horror film, obviously you are expecting violent death scenes from the slasher. Movies like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Violent horror films like slashers rely on the violence in order to actually be what they are supposed to be. Slashers are supposed to be violent. And you know, the thing that pisses me off is a lot of slasher films these days are so toned down. You don't see extremely violent death scenes anymore because of how oversensitive all these snowflake assholes are. The death scenes are either not bloody enough, or the screen turns to another direction when someone is getting killed. Like all you see is like the blood splashing on the walls. Like that's fucking boring. It's lame. When I watch a slasher horror film, I want to see blood. I want to see gore. I want to see people dying in extremely gruesome ways. I bet you fucking oversensitive assholes are like, you're a psychopath if you think like that. You must be crazy. You must be sick in the head. I like horror films and I love slasher horror films because that is the point of a slasher. And if you're a hardcore horror fan like myself, then obviously you already know about this. Hardcore horror fans are no way oversensitive to these types of things because hardcore OG horror fans like myself are, what do you call it? What's that word I'm looking for? We don't care about this type of stuff. Like, we're not sensitive to it. Like, this is tame to us. Like, hardcore horror fans are obviously not oversensitive to violent death scenes in horror films. But even other horror films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I Spit on Your Grave, The Human Centipede, like, this movie right here that we're looking at, this is known as one of the most disturbing horror films ever made. And of course, it is extremely controversial because of the violence. You people are way too oversensitive. The thing that pisses me off is, first of all, no one is even asking you to watch these movies. Like, seriously, who is even asking you to watch these movies? And first of all, if you are oversensitive, why are you watching them in the first place? If you are oversensitive to violent and disturbing imagery in horror films, then why do you even watch them? And then why do you complain afterwards stating that they're too violent and need to be censored? First of all, nobody even asked you to watch these types of films. Like I said earlier, OG and hardcore horror fans are not disturbed by the violence or the disturbing imagery because we actually like this type of stuff. We enjoy these type of movies. You see, all horror films, even the non-violent ones, are for a specific audience. Horror films are made for people who actually enjoy them and can actually handle the disturbing and violent imagery that some horror films have. They are not made for the oversensitive society that has to complain about literally everything because they are too fucking soft to deal with it in a mature way. Like, imagine thinking that a movie has to be censored because of how you feel about it. This is why these oversensitive assholes are so narcissistic and entitled. They think to themselves, oh, this movie is so disturbing. It's way too violent. It should be banned. No one should watch this movie. You honestly think just because you are too soft to deal with this type of stuff that it should be banned for everyone else? You want to ruin the movie for the people who actually enjoy these types of films and for the people that could actually handle them because we're not fucking man-sized children like you are. Like, that's the thing about these oversensitive assholes. They act like fucking children. It's like that one kid in every family that says, Mommy, Daddy, this movie is too scary. Turn it off. I'm scared. If you're fucking scared and if you're too fucking soft to deal with the violence, why don't you go watch something else? This is why I cannot stand modern society. This is why I can't stand Gen Z. Because you people are fucking stupid. You are oversensitive narcissists. Because you put your softness on everyone else. You act like your entitlement is enough to actually get what you want. And you're not supposed to force that on others. You're not supposed to think to yourself, just because I think this movie is too violent, it should be banned. Like, this is what pisses me off. Okay, I'm going to show you guys something right now. Even violent horror games have people like this attacking them. Let me show y'all something. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is a perfect example. Okay, now, this game right here, Visage, this game has an extremely dark and disturbing opening. You basically see from the perspective of the protagonist shooting his whole family. Let's take a look at some of the responses from these oversensitive assholes. This game is kind of boring. I'll admit, it definitely is kind of boring. See, look at this. This is what I'm talking about. But this one is actually not too bad. Like, hold on, I want to say something. If you are someone who does not like violence in horror movies or horror games, then that's fine. You don't have to watch them, and no one is forcing you to watch them or play them, because even there's violence in like horror games. Like Outlast is a good example too. Another very violent horror game. But look at this. Look at this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at this review. I uninstalled after the beginning of the first cutscene, watching a guy kill a family in first person. This game should be banned. See, this is exactly what I mean. People like this fucking moron right here thinks that violence in horror games and even horror movies should be banned just because they themselves can't handle it. You see, let me ask you, oversensitive asshole, something. Do you honestly think you are the only one whose opinion actually matters? If you think a horror film should be banned just because you are not strong enough to deal with it, and you can't handle it because you're too oversensitive, and because you're a man-sized fucking adult, because of course it's adults who mostly act like this, what do you think about the people who can actually handle it? Like, genuine question for you oversensitive people. What do you think about people who actually don't mind violence in horror films? Do you think they're crazy? Do you think they're psychopaths? Do you think they're sadistic? I could already guess that that's what you are guessing about people like me who could actually accept and handle the violence in these types of horror films. I'm not saying that every horror movie needs to be violent, nor is it a requirement, but I do not have a problem with violence in horror films, and sometimes I like a little violence. Films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this film, The Hills Have Eyes, I Spit on Your Grave, these horror films are good because of the violence. And let's not forget that horror films, like I said earlier, are not really nice films. These are not supposed to be fun and enjoyable, family-friendly movies like these oversensitive assholes want them to be, even though they are not even familiar with the horror genre, because if they were, then they wouldn't be as oversensitive as they are to the fucking violence in these movies. The thing that pisses me off is that the fact that you want them censored. You are the reasons why so many horror films these days are toned down. Like I said, I am not saying that every horror film needs to have violence. Again, there are plenty of amazing horror movies that actually do not need violence and are still amazing horror films because they have other things that make them good. But even movies like The Exorcist, The Exorcist is not a slasher film, but it still has extremely disturbing and violent imagery. And of course, that movie was also controversial because people could not handle the violence. No one is asking you people to watch these movies. Nobody wants you to watch these movies. Us hardcore horror fans, we do not welcome you into our community. These horror films are made for people who are more mature and people who have more tough skin and obviously better stomachs. I could already imagine some oversensitive asshole going to vomit in his toilet after watching a violent horror film and then going on a review post to make a review about how it should be censored or banned. And again, you oversensitive people, you are so fucking narcissistic. You think just because you find something disturbing, you think it should be censored and banned just because of how you felt about it? Because fuck everyone else. Fuck how everybody else feels. Fuck everyone who could actually deal with it. And fuck everyone who actually doesn't have a problem with it. Fuck the people who actually like horror films. They need to be censored or banned because of how you feel about it. Because your feelings are hurt. Because you're too offended and oversensitive to deal with it. You oversensitive assholes are a fucking cancer to modern society. You are narcissistic and you are extremely entitled. Because like I said, imagine wanting to censor or have a film outright banned just because you don't have tough enough skin to deal with it and because you're too oversensitive just because of how you feel. Because in your mind, you're right. In your mind, you're the only one who's right, and you immediately assume that everyone will agree with you because violence is bad. Violence in fictional movies is bad. You do realize that these are fucking movies, right? Do you not know what fiction is? You do realize that the people who made these movies are human just like you and me. And they are not bad people for wanting to make a fucking horror film. Like I said, if you are a hardcore horror fan, then you know the true meaning of horror movies. They are not supposed to be fun, family-friendly movies. They are supposed to disturb you. That's one of the things about horror films, and sometimes violence is how horror films use to disturb people. And you oversensitive assholes take it too far because you want to ruin the horror film for just being what it's supposed to be. Because horror films are supposed to be violent sometimes, and you want it fucking censored or banned because of that. Because you fucking morons are too oversensitive to deal with it. I can't even imagine being something like you. I can't even imagine being an oversensitive dumbass like you people. The Gen Z generation is a joke. This whole generation is a joke. Everyone these days is so fucking sensitive. Do you know how much outrage there would be if a horror film came out where a kid was getting killed or eaten alive by a zombie or just murdered by some psychopathic slasher? Do you know how much outrage and outcry would be happening if a horror film was ever made like that? Because you fucking people are so oversensitive and take movies, fucking fiction, so far that you literally outrage because you think it actually means something and you think it's something that's actually worth your goddamn time when it fucking isn't. But you people are so oversensitive and offended and so fucking entitled that you actually make it time for yourself and you waste your time doing it. How could you waste your lives complaining about violent horror films? I know some people are gonna say that I'm raging over nothing here, but I'm not. Okay, if you think I am wrong and if you think I am lying, then you are just too stupid yourself to see that this generation is too oversensitive. I will not let you people ruin my future horror films because I have plenty of horror films that I myself plan on making one day, and yes, they are going to be extremely violent, and I can give a fuck what you dumbass oversensitive assholes say. And I also want to give a shout out to horror directors who don't give a shit about you. I love when a horror director has bigger balls to actually make a violent and grotesque horror film despite the outraged controversy from you oversensitive cocksuckers. Because again, you people are narcissists because you assume that everyone is going to agree with you, and you assume that everyone thinks it's a good thing that you are doing for wanting to censor a violent horror film or wanting to have it outright banned. You think everyone thinks you're right. You assume that everyone agrees with you, and you don't even care about the people who don't care about violence in these horror films. You have to realize that people see things in their own way. Everybody has their own views and opinions on things in life, and movies are absolutely no exception. A good example, somebody could watch a movie and love it. Another person could watch that same movie and hate it, because everyone is different and everyone has their own views and opinions. But you oversensitive cocksuckers want to ban and censor my horror films just because of how you feel about them and just because you're too soft to deal with them. Because fuck me and everyone else who doesn't get offended and is not too oversensitive. Because you're the only one who matters. Even if your fellow snowflakes agree with you, that also does not matter. Because of course oversensitive people are going to agree with each other because you all have the same dumbass entitled mentality. So my final message for you offended and oversensitive assholes that pollute our modern day society, you could suck my fucking dick. How about you get offended and triggered over that? I hope you motherfuckers get triggered. I hope to see your comments in my video. I am the king of gaming and the king of YouTube, and you people are fucking peasants compared to me. Only my followers who seek the great truth that only I could give them will agree, because they are smart enough to know that my channel and what I say is the truth. I speak nothing but facts on this channel, and anyone who disagrees is just another peasant, aka another oversensitive Gen Z faggot like yourself. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you're another peasant, thank you for watching and getting triggered over another video from the king of gaming and the king of YouTube. And for my loyal followers out there, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you guys. As a leader, I am very pleased to have you by my side. You make this job easier and you make this job more enjoyable for me. So for my followers and subscribers, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on these oversensitive cocksuckers. And let me know what you think about violence and horror films. Like, seriously, I don't understand. Like, even I get disturbed over violent horror films, but that's because they are supposed to do that, because I am an OG horror fan. I like it when a horror film disturbs me with violent and disturbing imagery, because that means the horror film is actually doing its fucking job. But you oversensitive morons, not only do you have a stupid sense of entitlement, but you literally want to ban and censor a horror film for literally doing its job. But hey, at least it's actually working on you. At least it's scaring you so bad that you want it to be censored or banned, just like a scared little child complaining to his mommy and daddy. So fuck all you oversensitive morons. Fuck Gen Z and fuck modern society for having this sense of entitlement. For the OGs and for the people like myself who actually are not oversensitive faggots, thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you for actually still being around. People like you, we need more people like you who can actually handle shit like this. We need people who don't get so fucking offended and get so oversensitive. More maturity is better. So thank you guys so much for watching this rant video. I really hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. If you stuck by till the end, thanks again, and I will see you guys in the next discussion video. Take care, y'all. Peace.